You cannot be grateful and anxious. You can't be grateful and overwhelmed. You can't be grateful and angry or resentful or jealous.
So my thing with stress is I feel like I could get to a point where when a situation happens, there's no stress, there's just an adrenaline dump. There is, all right, let's solve the problem. And I'm getting a lot better at that. I'm the best I've ever been at that. So when the shit's hitting the fan, whatever it is, a car accident, I have 3 boys. You can imagine how many car accidents I've had to deal with. 2 of them in my own driveway, my car onto my car. They're okay. Thank you for double thinking me on that. But I feel like if I get anxious and angry, I'm not utilizing the best of the present.
Totally.
So I did a podcast and I talked about anger. It was all about anger. And we're all born with the anger wire. We need it. Actually, anger is in place because it triggers the fight in the fight, flight, or freeze. That is the context of the anger gene. That's why we need it, the anger wire. Like, for instance, I saw a video of a mother zebra with her little zebra galloping, and a lioness grabbed the little zebra and immediately got it by the throat. And the mother turned around and she started snorting. So that anger triggered her fight, and she ran back, and she was trying to bite the lioness, who was trying to block using the little zebra. And the mother finally got around. She bit that lion like 3 times hard, and the lioness let go. And they started to run away. And then the lioness jumped on the mom. And the mom started kicking, and she caught the lioness. And that lion flew off, and that was it for the lion. She's like, I'm done. So they gallop off, right? So the anger triggered the fight. And then when the animals get away, they return to their peaceful state. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. Right? We stay angry. We manifest anger. And unless we're using anger in that context, I don't think anger is good. So when I get angry, my metacognition kicks in, which is I'm aware of what I'm thinking and feeling. And I say, hey, you're getting angry. Hit the fire suppression system and solve the problem. And that's what I try to do. So I do get angry and I'm conscious of it, but I feel like gaining internal mastery over anger is a good thing, because when you're really angry, you don't make good decisions.
Oh, it totally is. And that's where my disconnect has been, is I haven't been able to, I know what to do. I know that I can take a step out. I know I breathe. I know I drop within. I know the tools to come back to that peaceful state. But I have lacked that. I know what's going on. I have lacked the capacity to be able to switch it off, because I think I was looking at it differently. Now that I know that it's okay that it's there, it's just a different perception that the next time that happens, and it's all conditioned behavior, right? I usually on Sundays, because I'm setting the week up for success. And again, I go at it the way like it's got, and I can feel it internally. I'm not relaxed and peaceful. It's get it done, get it done, get it done. Last Sunday, I had to fight that internally. Like you said, okay, what's the problem? Let's solve it. All right, I have 6 hours. These are the 15 things we're going to get done. Let's enjoy the process. Let's be present and enjoy it. And where I'm going to have the same result, it's going to get done. I always get it done, always. But enjoy the time within. I am conditioning myself to turn that on and be able to say, okay, I can feel it in my stomach. I can feel it in my shoulders are tense. I can feel that I don't think I'm going to have enough time. And having that conversation. For me, you're more clinical. For me, it's like, hey, pour some love on there, Sarah. I love you. I love you. We got this. Let's enjoy it. And so that shift of not having to snuff out the anger is huge for me. And then it's like you get to play with your energy.
This is what I love about, like, we're on the same path and we're utilizing different techniques. I have an engineering mind. So I am thinking of things like linearly and not so much, like you said, I think from here and I'm like, well, that's your heart. Your brain is everything, but it's not, because this is the emotional part of your being. So I always take more of a technical approach to it. Like if I'm training somebody at the gym, form is paramount. So what you think about, you bring about, we agree on that, right? I also know through my studies in neuroscience, what you say out loud is 10 times more powerful in wiring your brain than just thinking it. So if you go, I'm having a shit day, you're guaranteeing it basically. So,
and if you say, I love you, Sarah, I'm guaranteeing that love to come in. I have something to tell you right after this. Right? I'm sorry I cut you off.
No,
I totally agree with that. When you say something out loud, it reinforces and it just exemplifies it. Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Love him.
Okay. All right. So listen what he says. Love him. And he is the science behind how I changed this. I mean, I would spiral into these negative and I'd tap and focus on gratitude. Tap and focus on gratitude. Tap. Because 2 minutes later, I'd be thinking about that they did this or that. Tap, focus on gratitude. I had a bruise the first 6 months of my life, of 8 years ago. Literally.
The physical tap.
Tap. I was like this. But what did I do? I strengthened my pattern of gratefulness, those thoughts, and then I let the other negative thoughts atrophy. And so my thoughts literally turn this way more. Does that mean that they never come up? No, they come up, but now I can feel it when they come. I can feel getting sucked in and letting somebody else rent space in my head. And I shift over here, that gratitude. But what he says about love, about pouring love within, it's the greatest emotion there is. And the way you feel when you want to give love, giving it to yourself literally releases 3 hormones. You're feeding your heart. Physically, you release oxytocin. What?
Oxytocin, I think it is.
Oxytocin, that's the love hormone. You release that. You release two other hormones that engorge your heart. Remember I said it feels like butter. Like, that's how it feels because the arteries and the capillaries and the veins are engorging and the blood's rushing to your heart. It's literally opening. And if you have the gratitude and you're focusing on serving and on your goals and you're manifesting and seeing yourself, those two married together can create your destiny. So if we're present and we're pouring love in, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it literally has healed me and is healing me. And it feels good along with manifesting game over.
This sounds crazy, but where I'm at in my life is easy because I'm in the present. I want the struggles. I want the imperfections. I want to be working on something, right? That's where the joy is. Like, just a little side story. We all you'll have problems with your kids that you never had before because as they get older, different things happen. Right. And I have 3 boys, and I had a problem with one of my boys. He got 2 D's on his report card when he was in college. He left it up on the computer. He left his portal on. So I go down in the basement. He's watching TV. I took the TV. I go, turn your phone off. I said, are you average at anything? He said, no. I said, is there any reason you got 2 fucking D's on your report card? And he's like, oh. I go, yeah, you left your portal open on the computer. Because, when you go to college, you're an adult. You don't have to report to your parents who are paying for your school, right, that you got 2 D's on your report card. So I went into the whole thing about, I got to go out here and bust my ass and, pay for your clothes. And then you come home with fucking these. That's disrespect to me. You're disrespecting me. And if you disrespect me, you'll never get my respect. And it really hurt him when I said that. And I said, all right, let me ask you a question. Are you where you want to be in life? He said, no. And I said, are you giving it the effort you think you should be giving it to get to where you want to be? And he said, no. I go, and that's the problem. For me, the reason why life's easy is because I make sure every day I'm giving it everything that I need to give it to be where I want to be. That's all that counts. It doesn't matter if I get to my wealth goals. It doesn't matter if my book sells or whatever. It matters that right now I'm hitting that red line. I'm begging off that red line every day. You know what the red line is? And the car has a tachometer. When you floor it, it goes,
Yeah.
And that red line is right where the engine is that's where the engine's at its peak. And you don't want to stay in the red line too long because the engine could fail. But that's where life's lived to the fullest. It's that last stroke and kick to win the race, or it's that last to get the weight up. And most people never have that in their life. They never redlined one time, and that's where it's all happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I have to, this has been interesting because I think I redline it every freaking day. Every day. I have to pour that love in because I still, and I was talking about this Tuesday with guided meditation, I can fall into, well, I didn't do enough. I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. I can fall into that instead of giving myself grace and saying, hey, that's enough for today. That's enough for today. You killed it today. That's good. And stop.
do you ever look at what happens around you that's bad, like tragedies and things like that? Do you pay attention to that and use that as a leverage to say, well, I don't have it that bad? Because I do that. I use, when I see a mother pushing a little child in one of those wheelchairs and they're they're curled up in a ball and stuff like that. It's inspiring to me because that is a burden that she has. That's the example of true love. And I'm just grateful in every way I can slice that image up. And then I just say, I'm just glad my children are alive. I boil it down to its simplest form. It doesn't matter, how successful they are in the world. I just want them to be happy. And happy can happen without money.
Money makes it a lot better, though.
Yeah, well, it can if you can handle it, It
gives you a lot more options.
I told my sons many times, this is what I want from you. I want you to be a man of honor. When you shake somebody's hand, your word is your bond. I want you to be a first responding friend, and just have good heart, a good generous heart. Because if you have those things, you will be happy. None of the other stuff will matter so much, Yeah. So, and I think they're doing a pretty good job with that. But because they're young and they're like, if I ask them where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, they're not going to give too high of a number, because when we're young, we're thinking everything's about that end point and nothing's about the present. And plus, when you're young, you have the perception that you're going to be living a long time, which I don't do that either. So my buddy Tommy Heights says, you're a Stoic. And I'm like, what does that mean? Well, Stoicism's a philosophy. It's a Greek philosophy. I think it was 400 years ago. And the Stoics had two sayings. One is memento mori, meaning remember you will die. And they use that not as a morbid way to demotivate, but to make sure we're always conscious that we have no predetermined time. This could be my last day, and I better make it count. So that's how I am. And then the other saying is amor fati, which means I love my fate, or love of fate. So no matter what happens, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I've gotten so far down that path that even if I say I didn't redline it enough today, I can say, but that's okay, because I had a great day today. I lived another day of life. And that's where I'm at. And I'm so grateful for it. And back to your gratitude thing, I look at it, gratitude, the more gratitude you pull in, the more you push out the bad stuff. That's just how I visualize it. And you basically said the same thing. And I don't meditate a lot because I'm always thinking like, I'm grateful all the time. So I'll go, it just, boom, I'll get little bursts of gratitude all day long. So I don't have to necessarily meditate about it, but sometimes I do. And I don't know if you ever saw Tony Robbins, but he does a gratitude meditation.
Well, he's the one that the priming. Do you do priming?
I don't know what priming is.
You have to do this. Tony Robbins I worked with the Tony Robbins coach and I got certified.
Yep, that's the one.
Yes. Priming, man. That's fucking unbelievable. This is module 7 for my coaching. This incorporates everything I do. It incorporates... I
knew the music right away.
Yeah, the breath. So you do the Kapalahari breath, which is you clear the mechanism, and then you do the deep belly breaths, and you're bringing gratitude into your life, and then you use faith because you're blessing the people in front of you, blessing the people you don't know, and then you manifest.
That's exactly what I was getting to.
Yes.
When I do meditate, that is what I do. And
this is hypno therapy too. Mm-hmm. Someone told me that it was. So you already have that. Yes, priming, man, is awesome.
And so I did a speech. I belonged to Toastmasters. You know what Toastmasters is?
I almost
all right.
them.
So as badass as I think I am, I would shit a brick when I had to publicly speak. So I worked for a guy.
That's my end game.
Your end game to publicly speak. I would like that too. I would like the podcast to be, to go big, but whatever. It doesn't matter if I get there or not. I'm trying, you know what I'm saying? And I'm living in the present. So I went to Toastmasters I was made to go to Toastmasters. And I'm like, well, just like you, I'm going to fucking dive into this shit. And I have been journaling and writing my whole life. I had all these things that I wanted to talk about. And it turns out people are like, man, that was all awesome. And this and that. Well, I did a speech called The Power Within. And I had a ladder next to me, an A-frame ladder, and I went out there and I said, why did my mom have to die of a heroin overdose when I was a teenager? Why did my best friend die of brain cancer? And, I went from a standing position to down on one knee. And then I go, why do I have this bad osteoarthritis? I already have 2 hip replacements. It's not fair. I can't do anything. And then I go on to all fours and I would do like all these negative things until I was face down, literally, like I'm on the floor in the room, face down like this. And then I turn around and I look up and I go, wow. I go, it's really dark down here and it stinks. And I can't do all the things I used to do, but who can? And if we didn't have this technology and I didn't have the hip replacements, I'd be in a wheelchair. I can still run. I can still climb. And for every negative point that I did the flip side. And then finally I'm standing up again and I go, and I make plenty of money as a realtor. And then I started adding on to it. And every time I added on to it, I took a step up the ladder until I was at the top of the ladder. And I said, my friends, for every negative thing that happens to us, there's a positive counterpoint that I call the flip side. And then I repeat, I go, let me repeat that. And I go, now let me get off this ladder before I fall and waste a perfectly good flip side. And then the whole speech is about mindset, right? So that's how I live my life. And I truly believe, Sarah, that this is my core belief. This is my endpoint. I've already lived a fucking great life. Mm-hmm. If I die, if I don't wake up, I get hit by a bus, I don't give a shit. Because up until that time, I didn't waste any time here, right? I was full of gratitude. I was on my mission, and that's all that counts. I die with no regrets. And when people say, I want to live to be 95 or whatever, I go, what the fuck aren't you getting done or doing that you want to do that you're not doing right now, right? What kind of endpoint do you want to get to that you have to live to be 95? I don't care how long I live. But I do want to die in my feet. That's one of my things. I want to die under my own power. I don't want to get so old that I can't walk and if I had to choose how I wanted to die under my own power, it would be saving somebody's life. I think that would be a badass way to go out. he ran into the building, he got the little kid out or whatever. I don't want to die miserably, even if it means I take years off my life. So
I wonder, I love what you just said. And there's a part of me, like you said, the podcast, you're like, maybe it won't turn into anything. And that's fine. I'm, because I'm trying, I'm working, I'm doing it. I don't have that yet. Like it's almost like the thing with swimming, like knowing that I had within me I was fucking fast enough to make trials. I know that. And then I came and I won and set that world record when I started racing again. I forgot to say that. Pan Am's, like, fucking done, man. I knew, like, I knew it. I knew. I looked up number one, and I don't care if I was 40, however old I was, 46, I think. That was enough for me. That counts. So I have in here things that I want, and again, kinesthetic, right? This is where I pull from, that I want to accomplish. And maybe because it's been 8 years and so jam-packed, and your career's been how long? How long have you been a realtor?
About 15 years.
15 years, and then you were down, what were you traded before then, right?
So I had a little in between a restaurant for 2 years.
Okay.
So I went floor, restaurant, and then in real estate.
So I still feel kind of like the ground shaky underneath me. I mean, there was, I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent. A lot of months. That's when I learned to just let it go, man. I can't fucking handle this stress. I need you to take it. And really listen to that voice within. So I'm just processing a lot of what you said. If I died tomorrow, I would feel really good about my life.
Excellent.
I really would. I wouldn't have, I am on my way. I'm doing what it takes to get to what I'm saying. I feel like I know where I'm going to be. If I died tomorrow, I would be okay. Because I'm fucking busting my ass to get to where I want.
And that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's actually being grounded in the present. So, you obviously, you want to be around, you have kids and whatever. So I'm a little bit further on down. It's easier for me to say, if I die tomorrow, I'm good because my kids are grown. They can take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. You're not in that position. So you still have to go, no, I want to stay around. And I do too, but you're still really tight and you need to raise your kids. And it's super important that you're here. So it's a little hard to say, yeah, I'm good. If I die, I'm good. You don't want to die though. That's the thing.
No.
But that's great what you just said. And I'm a firm believer that the more you tell yourself that, like, hey man, if I died today, I'm good because I'm on the path that I'm supposed to be on.
Okay. So that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Now, so right there, I'm taking that with me.
Yep. I'm redlining every day. I'm doing the best I can. And that's all I can do. I go to sleep every night with peace in my heart.
I don't know how not to redline.
I know, girlfriend.
It's like literally, and that's what I'm trying. I have to do with this other job. I don't have to fucking redline this other job. I need to tone it down because me toning it down is other people redlining. You know what I'm saying? Tone it down over here so I have more time right here.
Right. And that's another thing that I learned.
It's hard for me to do.
The only way I came out of my personal darkness, which was all the years after the trading floor. The stock market crashed. I invested in real estate, everything. Like all of a sudden, I'm like, I went from being comfortable and I went into preservation mode. I'm not a preservation mode guy, and you're not a preservation.
No, and I've been in preservation mode for a while. Brian and that's why I had to get the second job, which has made it, the trading floor closed, and he's like, that's it, I can't pay you. What do you mean you can't pay me? You have 2 fucking kids. You gotta, COVID. You don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. You know what I'm saying? But like for me, then it's $6,000 a month down to $1,600 a month. I have to make up that other income, which is put another full-time job on my plate. But again, I can't fall into, oh, it's so hard, which it is. But it's for this time and I'm redlining and I'm doing it. And I'm learning a bunch of shit over here that's going to help me here.
Are you still, I don't remember from our conversation, you are still married? Or no?
I left him 8 years ago.
Okay, so let me just say this to you. I wish I would have remembered the part of the story. One of the hardest jobs on the planet Earth is being a single mom.
Uh-huh.
And I know firsthand because being a single mom, that consumed my mother. She didn't make it. It's a fucking hard job. I don't think a man could even understand how hard it is. I have a little more insight because I grew up with a single mom, but it's hard. And had addictions, right? Mm-hmm. So you had addictions and you're a single mom, like you're fighting the war on every front. You're a provider, you got to take risks in business, but then you got to work a job and make money so you can pay the bills while you're building your business. And it all constitutes a badass life.
Yeah.
Right. So you never were in the pit doing the stuff that we did, but there comes a point in time where you are beyond your human capability. Your clerks are yelling at you. Buy 2,000, make it 2,500, shave 175, sell them, buy them. And you're fucked. You're just fucked. And you're doing it under stress. If I make a mistake, I lose my house, and you are beyond your capacity. But the thing you have to say, which I would tell my guys, you're good, you're good. I'm like, bring it on. You get the bring it on mentality.
You have to do
that.
You have to. You have no other choice. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go. It's non-negotiable.
And that's what you do every day.
Yeah.
You're like, bring it on, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go get couple thousand yards in the pool before I bring it on. Oh, man.
And that's not enough. And then I got to hit bar so that I get my strength training in. I want to go back to, I do not think life is fair. Not even as a bit, just as a matter of fact. I think some people have more challenges than others.
Do they have more challenges because they have more challenges, or do they have more challenges because of their choices?
Both.
So the only thing I would say on that is, a little child dying of cancer or something, that would be the unfair part of life, in my opinion. But I'm using it just as a generality. It's fair in that it's hard for everybody. But some people do have more trials than others.
Okay. And maybe I'm thinking life is equal. It is not equal. I have the baby that is born sick, or the baby that's in the stroller that you were talking about. There's physical handicaps or mental handicaps or abuse when you're a child. Or
I'm pulling up one of my biggest inspirations, and I'm sure you know who this guy is. You know who this guy is?
No.
You need to look him up. Nick Vujicic. He was born with no arms, and he's got two little duck feet that can keep him upright. Okay, he's the most in-demand public speaker in the world. He has a family. He has kids. This guy fucking made it. And you should hear him talk to kids.
What's his name?
Nick Vujicic.
Vujicic. There's another guy.
I'm going to say
I have seen him. I've seen him.
When he talks to
Tony
kids.
Robbins, there's another guy, Nick. I think it's
I have this guy in my book.
Here, this guy. How about David Goggins?
Yeah.
That's my future husband.
Well, you know what, though? I think David Goggins is out of balance. I love him. I love the way he talks. But to do the shit that he does, he's running from something, or he's trying to defeat something. When you're taping.
I haven't read both of his books. I need to.
When you're taping your shins together, at the 78-mile mark of a 100-mile run, I don't know how I would answer that question, the 1 to 10 question. It probably wouldn't be too high. And if it isn't too high, I would argue then you're doing something wrong. You're wasting your life, brother. You got to figure it out. I think he's got some things to resolve. I love him, though. I want him in my foxhole with me, okay?
Oh, yeah, I want him in my foxhole, that's for sure. Yeah, I think I have some work to do to recognize the 10.
And then what I wanted to say to you is that's the power of the brain right there. You're born without limbs and shit like that, or worse yet, you get them blown off. You had them and then you don't have them, and then you're running in the disabled Olympics with steel springs on your legs. Like, that's how powerful our minds are. And like you keep saying, I redline. It also can lead to our demise, right? Because I'm going in the wrong direction and I'm redlining in the wrong direction.
Totally.
Right?
I redline all day long. That's what I said. I don't
drugs
do
and the cocaine. You were like, I could outdrink anybody,
And interesting enough, I did the same thing. I always made sure I was taken care of. Does that make sense? Like, I am very resourceful and I have a mindset, and I wasn't going to be like, I knew I wanted to do cocaine. I knew what I wanted, how much I needed. And think about this. I wanted to feel good. Just like now. For me, I say life is hard and it's not fair, but it's so worth it. Challenges are going to come. They're a part of life. I want to feel as good as possible so I can walk through them with strength and grace. I was searching to feel good, and I used the wrong mechanisms. But I didn't leave it to chance. Like, oh, I hope somebody has some on them today, or I hope I'm going to, somebody will buy me a drink. Like, I took action. That was the wrong direction, the wrong way. But that's what I'm going to do. That's what I do now. Like, take action.
But I want you to think about as you go through the internal mastery, whatever vehicle you use. You talk about love and all this stuff, and whatever vehicle I use. When you get to higher levels of it, your stress level will go down and down and down. So when somebody says, how do you deal with stress? You go, it's almost non-existent. Think about if you got to that point, and you can, because like for me, stress is almost non-existent. I'll have little spurts of it, and then, I counterbalance it because I don't have any fear. Like, if you're not afraid to die, if I truly am not afraid to die, and I don't think I am, of course, I could be a fake and be faced with death.
I don't think I am either.
But when you have no fear, like no fear of failure because you're living in the present, and I'm trying, it doesn't matter if I fail or not, I'm giving it my best right now. You optimize the power of your mind. You become an awesome problem solver. Mm-hmm. And here's how I think I don't have any fear anymore of death, for sure. We had a gunshot in our garage, and it was 10:45 at night. I always have a pistol next to me when I'm sitting in the family room.
I want to learn how to shoot.
And I thought, somebody fired a gunshot in the garage. So instead of going out the back door right into the garage, I went into the basement right here. And my son lives in the basement. He's a Marine, and he's locked and loaded downstairs. And I come downstairs. He goes, "Did you hear that? I thought that was you." I go, "Fuck no, it's not me. We're going to go up the garage staircase. We're coming up like this. And I have a, powerful flashlight on my pistol. And we're coming up, and there was nothing. Like, I had a little bit of an adrenaline dump, but no fear. And then I walked the perimeter of the house and stuff. And then when I got back in the bedroom and I sat down, I'm like, fuck, I was not scared at all. And I thought there was a gunshot fired. And the reason it was the garage spring on the garage door, there's a big long spring.
Yep.
It popped, and it sounded like a gunshot. And then during COVID, when we had the riots downtown, and they said they're going to come out to the suburbs and stuff, my son was smoking a cigarette outside again. It's like 10:30 at night. Everybody's asleep. He calls me, and he's right there, and I'm in the family room right there. I go, "What? What's up?" He goes, "There's some black dude with a hood on, a hoodie on, and he's scoping out Tammy's house. I grabbed the pistol. I had my sweats on. I come out right away. He went that way. So I started walking with my slippers on. He's like, where you going? I'm going to see what's up. So no fear. And then, I got around the corner and I saw the guy and he went, and he went, and he took off. It was probably the neighbor's kid or something. And he wasn't black. He was white, but my son, that's the way it looked. So I want to live my life with no fear. I do have regrets though. And I don't know if that's a good thing. I do have regrets. And I think people who say they don't, I think that's a lie. I think everybody has regrets.
Well, when you stop drinking, you have these things, and they're called drinking dreams. So you wake up and you're like, fuck, I relapsed. Like, it's so real. And you're filled with this, momentarily with this guilt and this shame. And then when you figure out that it's just a dream, you're like, and now you're like, well, why was I dreaming about it? Like, and go into this whole thing. And so I remember talking to my sponsor at the time, and I kind of did AA differently than other people. And she looked at me and she said, I went into this whole, I regret, like into regretting. And she looked at me and she said, no, you don't regret. Kind of what you said before. Everything in life has led you to this moment, and you take this moment moving forward and you live your best life, and you don't waste your time or energy going into regret.
I agree with that.
I do too.
I don't dwell on the regret, but I have them. I've bookmarked them. I know. And, I agree with this too. This is
like what? Give me an example.
Like not taking a shot at being a trader, not stepping off that top step as a broker and being a trader and being my own person. That's a regret I have. I never joined the military. I regret that because that's who I am. That would have been, and at the time I was going to join the military, my mom had just died. And I was talking with Air Force because I want to be a fighter pilot. That's what I went to college for, is aerospace aeronautical engineering. I didn't finish though. So yeah, I have a few regrets, but I understand that all the decisions we've made have led us to be right here, right now. And I'm living a 10 right now. So I'm not saying I would go back and change anything, but a university did a study with old people, and the study revealed that old people, they do have regrets. And the regrets they have are always things they didn't do, not things they did. Like I regret not taking taking a shot or traveling or going to visit my father when I wanted to visit him. They regret the things that they didn't do. And that's a valuable lesson. And then there's another study, which I quote in my book.
Because regretting not going into the Air Force, like if that's a dream that you had always, but what if you did? And what if you died in service?
No, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the butterfly effect. You change one thing, but
like I think about, but I don't let myself go here. I was recruited all over, and I chose Arizona State. What if I chose Kansas? What if I chose one of the Big Ten schools where I'd be a big fish in a little pond, I just keep going back to Kim, what she said. And
yeah, no, it's so great about the reframing, but so I'll share a quick story with you, and then remind me when we just turn everything off. I want to get your address because I write a letter every couple months. It started out as a real estate thing. I send out 2 letters. One's a real estate letter. Here's where we're moving and shaking. It goes out in a company envelope. But then I send out what I call a heart letter. And it's one letter. I write one letter to my friends and family. And I write about something important to me, nothing to do with business. And the last letter I wrote was a 2-pager. It was about the highest form of living is giving, and here's why. And then I did a flow chart. Gratitude was in the first one, and I fleshed out gratitude, and then I put in giving, and then I put in kindness, because kindness is the simplest form of giving, and it doesn't cost us anything. We can do it every day. So I want to get you on the list and send you the letter.
Do you know that it's emotionally impossible to be any of those low-vibing emotions if you're grateful? You cannot be grateful and anxious. You can't be grateful and overwhelmed. You can't be grateful and angry or resentful or jealous. I hate jealous.
This is why I have a problem with people who profess that they have a strong faith in God, and these would be predominantly Christians, and they live a stressful life. You're not practicing your faith then, right? And
because when I'm stressed or when I'm caught in fear or stress, the quickest way out for me is either to pour love within and just say, hey, I need you. Show me the path. And then immediately you don't feel alone. That's another thing. Like one of my best friends, she's a single mom, 5 boys.
Oh boy.
Her story is amazing. Her husband was friends with Brian down on the floor. Do you know Dave Fiddler?
I know who he was, yeah.
Okay. Total piece of work. She's Diane Fiddler. I was with her when her marriage fell apart, in front of her on her phone when she started getting the texts from the girlfriend. She said to me, and she's the wellness. She's over 50 employees, totally built her entire business on the South Side, core fitness and physical therapy. She's the wellness portion on my retreat, one of my dearest friends. And she said, well, aren't you worried about, because I'm not dating, I go out on dates but I'm not looking, I have no time to be responsible or accountable to anybody else besides me or my kids until I'm ready, until I get to where I want to be, until I'm ready. It's just not, I know that it's not it's not bad, but I don't know why I'm stumbling right now. I'm not looking for anything. And Di said to me once, she said, well, aren't you lonely? And I looked at her and I said, no, I haven't been lonely once because of my faith. I've not felt alone because at my darkest times, all I have to do is ask and I can feel my higher power. And I remember once there was, it was one night, the kids were gone, and it's just brutal having the kids gone when, it's not supposed to be like that. And so here I was, it was 5:00. I had finished all my work. I had no more work left. And it was too early to go to bed. It's too early to watch one movie. I could have done like 3. And I was going to spiral. I could spiral down the, self-pity. And I could feel myself going down there. And I thought, and then that voice came, what if you had a date with yourself? What if you had a date with yourself?
I never thought about that.
I mean, and I thought, wow, I'm with myself 365 days a year, 52 weeks a year, 7 days a week, 12 months, 24 hours a day. Why don't I learn how to enjoy being with me? And I did. I had a great night and it was like game on. So that's one of the things I do in coaching is learning to enjoy yourself, get out of your head, connect within and empower your life. And when you do that, you can self-soothe, self-motivate, self-inspire, self-heal, self-care, self-love, self-balance. You can become accountable and responsible to yourself And you don't have to look to everybody else to tell you that you're okay.
There's an old proverb that says you can always find a fool in a crowd and a wise man by himself. That's the first thing. I never feel alone. Not because I'm framing it out the way you do. It's because I have a whole bunch of people that care about me. Whether they're actively close to me or not, doesn't matter. I know that I'm never alone. Now, you have like faith is your driver that you know you're never alone. I don't have that. I used to have it. Now I'm a skeptic, but it's okay because I'm still open to it. But what I do have faith in is the human spirit, in particular mine. So when I throw out the energy that I throw out, it attracts really good energy. And I know because of your energy, you have a lot of badasses around you. You are never fucking alone. And if you are ever in dire straits, you got a team of Navy SEALs that will come to your rescue. One of them is sitting right opposite you right now. So that's how I frame it out. I'm never really alone. I always have people that love and care about me. So I'm calm and content to be by myself. I'd be sitting in traffic. Like I had 2 great frame outs 2 years ago because I'm so sensitive about not wanting to waste time, right? Don't waste my time. Don't have bad thoughts that waste my time. I hated waiting in lines. I hated waiting in waiting rooms, and I hate waiting in traffic. And I'm like, all right, I have 3 things that I hate. So when I'm in those scenarios, which I can't control being in, I'm not framing it out in a way that's making me happy. I'm framing it out in a way that's making me unhappy, which is breaking my own rule. So how do I reframe it? And the other one was,
How do you?
I'm going to tell you. And I hate when I let somebody merge in traffic and they don't even look or wave. Right. So here's where my reframes were. With the waiting, okay, so I don't want to be unhappy when I'm waiting and I can't change the outcome. So let me extract out of this wait time, what could I do to benefit?
Learn.
Yes.
Podcasts, read a book or get an audiobook.
That or pay attention to my surroundings, engage with somebody who's sitting in the doctor's waiting room or try to figure out like what's their ailment. Look, if it's 2 old people, how long have they been together? I look at how they're running the business, who's behind the counter, who's throwing off good energy, and I'm just paying attention to life. I'm living in the present. So then that became a benefit. Same thing with the traffic jam. Oh, I'm sitting in traffic. I'm going to be late. Hey, well, fuck. The world's going to keep turning. I'm going to be late. I'm not going to worry about being late. I got a badass vehicle. I got a nice stereo system. Kind of funny watching all the other people get frustrated, and then the lane jockeys, right? And you stay in your own lane, and you wind up beating them, right? Like you didn't change lanes at all. You wind up passing. You're like that, So I made it a plus. And then with letting people merge in traffic and not waving, I'm like, I'm doing this because it satisfies my code. I'm letting you in because I want to be courteous and kind. It has nothing to do with you. And whether you thank me for it or not, I upheld my own code. I don't even give a shit. I don't even look. Now. I let him in, and I'm telling myself also, I'm teaching that person how to be kind, right? I wasn't competitive. No, I'm not going to let you in. I'm like, no. Now, sometimes I don't let people in because they're driving like assholes. Like they're going to make you jam on the brakes. And then when I don't let them in and they start yelling at me, and I do that. No, don't do that. But calmly, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So those were 2 good breakthroughs for me. And basically, I boil it down to one simple thing. Is the way that I'm looking at something making me happy or unhappy? It's that simple. If I'm thinking of something and the way that I'm thinking about it doesn't make me happy or unhappy, and if the answer is unhappy, then I have to use my power of reframe and go, how do I reframe this? So it doesn't make me unhappy. It's just changing your perspective.
Totally. I love that.
And before you go and elaborate on that, because we could talk forever, I think somewhere down the line, there's a place for us to merge what we're doing.
I would love
because I want to be on stage too. You had mentioned with sometimes to attract the males because your team's all female, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
Because if my trajectory goes to where I want it to be, and with the podcast and everything, whatever, I want to have an academy for young men, because I believe we are taking the man out of humanity, and I want to make warriors back. I want to put the warrior blood back into young men, because our society is crushing that. And they're also, our society is crushing the spirit of women too. But I'm not a woman, and that's not my superpower. My superpower is dealing with the males. Your superpower is the females. So
yes.
So let's just keep that in mind. This was dynamic. Well, like when we're crying on a podcast, that's badass. That's real stuff. That's what brings people in. And you have to be able to do that as you rise. You have to be able to let it all flow out. And that's hard for me to say that. You know, I did a couple speeches where I got teary-eyed. I did what do they call it when you speak about somebody at their wake or funeral? Eulogy. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
I did my dad's. I have a story about my dad's. Finish your story.
Did you cry?
Finish your story.
I did a eulogy for the man on this board here. That's my Uncle Angelo. And that was the thing that was at his wake. You know how they put the photo boards up? And his son, I said, Ted, that's a beautiful thing. He took it off the wall. He said, that's yours. I go, no, you keep it. He's like, nope, I want you to have it. And I did the eulogy for him, and I was a blubbering mess.
I did the eulogy. My dad's wake was the largest wake there was on the west side ever. There were 3,500 people there.
Wow.
Something crazy. It was 3.5 hour wait from start to finish. No joke. It was epic because it brought back my whole dad. Like the people from my childhood, the block I grew up on, they all came in.
Wow.
His clients when he was a state's attorney. Lawyers and judges and friends, and from every era of his life. And I wrote, and he had died, and we had kind of like a longer time to prepare before the wake and funeral. I don't remember why so I wrote this speech, and it was really good. And I read it to a very close friend of mine. And it was the night before. When was it? It was the night before the funeral. It was like the night of the wake. I read it to her, and she hesitated for like 1 second, 2 seconds. She goes, "Wow, that's really good." And I was like, pissed because I said, "I don't want it to be good." And she said, "Well, then you have to go deeper." And I had spent, like I had a whole day or something that I was able to spend on it. And you know what? I didn't want to go deep because I was scared of going deep. And I don't even know what a eulogy really is. Like, you know, like how I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about my dad. And so I used my tools, and I went in to the bathroom. That's where I have my meditation books. And I did my breath, and I read, and I dropped within, and I asked, I said, "Show me how to do this. Show me the path." And the answer came and said, "Gratitude, and write a letter to your dad."
Wow.
So I went to sleep, took my supplements, went to sleep, make sure I got a good night's sleep, got my fucking ass up at 4:30, just like always, did my pre-workout, got my ass on the bike, rode, calmed my mind, had my shake, sat down, and I wrote. And it was epic. And I talked to him like his little girl about the things I'm so grateful that he taught me. There was about 800 people, and it was not from here, it was from here. We all have the answers within us. It's just when we have to quiet to get them.
That's awesome. So 2 points. Did you reconcile your dad? Have you reconciled him with inside of you?
I reconciled with my dad. I had some hard conversations before he passed. The job, I didn't. But I know if I had worked in that environment, it wouldn't have been good. I know that. It still hurts. And I don't know if it's when I'm caught in my ego that I can let it hurt. But it's about 6 years before my dad passed. I came to terms like that he's a man. And just like I'm a woman, he's my father, but he's just a man and he has character flaws. And we all do.
That's interesting. So now check this out. I told you I wanted to leave a legacy and all the components of a legacy. They all have to do with giving. This letter that you wrote to your father, I am actively writing a letter like that to all the people who are important to me, and I'm mailing them out. And I say in the letter, I start them all kind of the same way. I said I had a mission that I wanted to write a letter to everybody who means something to me and what they mean to me and why they're so important to me and why I'm so grateful for them. And I was going to keep the letters until the day I died, and then have whoever survived me hand the letters out. And then I realized I might not make it long enough, or you might not make it long enough. So the mission became time sensitive. So here it goes. And that's how I start the letter. And I just tell them, here's what you mean to me, blah, 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 blah.
That's awesome.
I wrote one to Andy, who was my clerk.
I remember Andy, did he have a mustache?
He had a mustache,
yes. Yep. Who was Kevin?
Kevin had the long hair. I'll show you pictures. I'll show you pictures. I got, these people are getting these letters and they're crying and stuff. They're going, oh my God, because remember, memento mori, remember you will die. I don't take time for granted. And I want everybody to know how I feel about them before I die or they die. And I thought, what a fucking cool way to abide by my own code. That's one of the components of leaving my legacy. So wouldn't it have been cool if your dad got that letter while he was alive?
Yes.
So,
but I think he heard it.
Oh, I'm sure he did. So that's one of my daily things is I got to put it on my to-do list, write a letter. I have the hierarchy of people. And the thing that I told Andy in the letter was, we worked in a cesspool. That money brought out the worst in people. And, all these groups, these rival groups, they tried to take what we had. We had a little group. Probably was the smallest group on the floor. I broke away from RJ after you left because we were all equal partners, splitting everything up 5 ways, and the customers knew it. So they first started giving, Tony sell 500, Pump sell 500. I would smoke them every time. So then the customer's like, well, I love RJ's group, and since they're all splitting up the commissions, Pump sell 1,000. So it got to be to the point where I was doing 50% of the business and only making 20% of the money. Mm. And every time they would just rotate vacations because I was carrying the load for them. There would only be 2 or 4 of them up there at any given time. And then when I took a vacation, one of them would come over and fill my spot. And, they weren't used to handling all that volume. It all funneled into me. Oh, RJ's busy, I'll go to Zim. Zim's busy, I'll go to Tony. Tony's busy, I'll go to Brett.
Zim, I forgot about Zim.
They didn't have that. And I'd get back and my clients would go, don't ever put Tony up there when you leave. Don't ever put, and then it was already, I don't have anybody, so I never took a vacation. And I finally went to RJ, I love you to death, but I must ask permission to leave the group because it's just not fair. He goes, you should have done this a long time ago, to RJ's credit. And so then we were competing against each other like it was real. And Tony and Zim got nervous and they went and told everybody, he's not with us anymore. You got to use us. And that pissed people off. But some of them, they did. I didn't give a shit. Because what I told Andy in the letter was everybody tried to break us up, especially when we went independent. They tried to take our spot. They tried to undermine us. And they couldn't. And you know why? It was this bond. They couldn't break the bond, you know, and he loved that. And then that leads me to a story about Buck. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Okay, so of all the bad people I've ever known in my life, he's number one on my worst person I've ever known. That's saying a lot. He comes up to me like,
didn't he quit drinking?
That's the part of the story. So in AA, you have what? 12, is it 12 steps?
Mm-hmm.
He pulls me off the floor one day when we're done. We've all the volume's gone. It's on the computer platform now. Like Euro's turned into a ghost town. He pulls me off the floor. We go into the currencies, which there was nobody in, all the pits were dead. There was no more volume in the currency. So we're sitting there and he's like, I'm part of this 12-step program. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to make amends with the people we hurt. And he said, I wanted to tell you, I have the greatest respect for you, you and your team. You guys, you worked hard. You did it great. But through the years, I told some falsehoods about you to people to get their business and lied about you and this and that. And, I just want to say, how sorry I am. And I go, you're asking for my forgiveness? I said, if you're asking for my forgiveness, you're barking up the wrong tree. I go like this. I go, the game's over, bro. It's done. You, with your lies and your deceit, you made people dislike me. You took food off of my table and the table of all my guys, and you want to be forgiven? I don't forgive you. He's like, oh, well, I go, hey, man, I wish you well, but you can't make amends with me. However, if you want to go up to all those people that you lied to about me with me in your presence and tell them that you lied about me and tell them all the nice things you just said to me, that'd be a really good start. What do you think? And he just walked away. So I don't have any regrets about doing that. I want to be strong and forgiving and let things slide, but you do damage like that. And this kid was the master of smoke and mirrors. I have friends that were friends with me before him that I sold their houses in Lamont that were disciples of him, and them apologize to me now. And I have to be nice to them because I'm selling their house, but I'm thinking in my back of my mind, well, fuck you too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I wrote a letter, one of my letters, and I want to start sending you letters, was about Buck. And I told that whole story in detail and said, I didn't forgive him. Some of my friends said, man, I read that with my daughter, and we were debating, did you do the right thing or not? And I'm not saying I did the right thing. I'm just saying this is what I did, So I didn't want that guy to walk away feeling like he was forgiven. If he feels a little pain and sting from it, that's fine with me. But I really don't give a shit. I don't wish ill upon anybody because I believe in karma. Mm-hmm. And he's the prime example, because my clerks would go, this guy's stealing all the money. Nothing's ever going to happen to him. I go, believe me, he's suffering because karma's going to make sure he suffers. And he's suffered with addictions and all that stuff. So very interesting stuff.